Design services, digital products, or solutions for people have always been about empathy and collaboration. Two aspects today are challenging and stressful because of the social distance and the increase of the remote working. In this episode, we are talking with Adam Perlis and Antonio Iadarola about how service and experience design teams play a facilitator role, helping businesses to get advantage from this complex context. Okay. 3, 2, 1, live. Hello everyone, this is Mirko, host of Alia Stories, and today I want to talk about an expertise in the past month has become one of the most demanded in every business and organization, service and experience design. And I'm happy to do that by welcoming two guests today, Adam Perlis and Antonio Iadarola. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining. You, Adam, you work as an experience design leader for big companies such as AT&T and Time, and now you run your own business, correct?
Yep.
What was your journey? How you arrived here doing this kind of work?
Yeah, so I'll give a brief version. I actually started by studying business and marketing in school. I was not your classically trained designer. In fact, when I first started out, there was no design program for UX design or UI design or product design, or even human-computer interactions, which is a very popular program now. It was really up to me to learn how to do this type of work on my own through the internet, by practicing, by learning from books by IDEO and others. And, eventually I found my way into the product design world, working at Time Magazine. I became the head of design and UX there. And eventually that led to other amazing roles as the head of UX for AKQA New York, and the head of design for Be Real New York as well. And eventually that led me to starting my own agency, Academy, which is a product design agency focused on UX and UI. And I also co-founded an initiative called Dream Project, which helps young designers learn how to build a proper portfolio piece so that you can help them get a job. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I got to where I am today.
And you're based in New York, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Fantastic. Antonio, actually, you have kind of different kind of background because you have an academic background first, but you also worked for government entities and redefined public services. And now you also run your own business, right?
Yeah, it's totally right.
Oh, it's always in New York?
Yeah, we are based in Brooklyn, New York, and as well in Montreal, Canada. So we have two locations, even though we work remotely, just like very small teams, they work into different locations. Yeah.
How did you arrive to work in this kind of business?
Yeah, it's very interesting because Adam mentioned the lack of certain programs in experience design, user-centered design. Back in the days, probably like 10 years ago, about 10 years ago. And actually, I did start as a designer, but as a product industrial designer. That's what I studied at university back in Italy. But it was in a very interesting moment. It was in a moment where I think we were experiencing the rise of the experience economy. Design started understanding that it was not really about the products and the object that you would produce, but it was what the user would experience of a certain system. And so I think the conversation was opening up a little bit, but obviously education had to catch up on that. So I felt after my BA in industrial design that I wanted to explore a little bit more what experience design means and what does it mean to design experiences for different organizations that possibly are not even close to the design industry. So I went to London and I studied an MA degree called Narrative Environments, where we started, from, kind of crafting stories and try to understand how to deliver those stories, how to convey those stories through the built environment, but also the digital environment and all type of media you can use. So it was a very multimedia approach. And this type of approach is really something that you can only do if you work with very diverse teams, that you involve user in understanding what are their needs and wishes and expectations. And that's how I landed in service design and design thinking, really like collaborative practices around design. and really understanding how to co-design with people. So simply speaking, then from there it was the step of building my own practice. Was sort of intuitive, and it was also kind of necessary because there was, I guess, a lack of positions with the organization. So it was really a situation where you need to build your own job. So that's what I did, and that's kind of things that I also, as you mentioned, kind of had the opportunity to study at a deeper level through my PhD at Desis Lab. Parsons, based in University of Campania in Italy. So yeah, I really try to understand how to use this co-design approach also in the social innovation sector, which now, unfortunately, I'm not. I'm not working in the social sector anymore. I'm working more in the private sector, but the approach of co-designing is really the same for any field. So it's a
That's
very
great.
rich. Yeah, it's a very
It's
rich.
so fascinating because all the time you talk with someone in this kind of business, you always discover this kind of cross-pollination from different expertise. Like the Adam say have a background in business and marketing. You actually your background start from the industrial and product design, and it's so interesting seeing how everyone actually learn from other kind of practice. Fantastic. Well, I have the first question for you both. And I'm sure it's not kind of something new for you, but for other people are watching right now, it could be actually. Everyone is working the service and experience design. They always have on the center of they are working aspects such as collaboration and co-creation. And I want to ask to you, how has changed your work in the past month, especially with now working from home, remote team, and all the spectrum of kind of feeling sometimes in client organization are surfacing, like, ego, exclusion, inclusion, depression, uncertainty. What is your experience in this space? How has changed your work?
So that's I mean, obviously a very interesting question, and probably still a very open question for all of us. But
I believe.
I think what this the current situation required from us as designers is really to understand people at a deeper level. And of course, there's always been an attention in the last 10 years to understand the user in order to create experiences that they could use and buy. But then now I think the focus shifted a little bit on understanding how the organization works and how people work, and really almost at an individual level on how each person within a team is dealing with all the changes and the uncertainties. So I think in terms of me as or my practice as consultant for improving our organization design their services, we really had to add a lot of support and coaching to individual member of the teams and really understand not just how they were performing, how they were operating within a project, but also really understanding their wider context. Do they have a family? Do they have, any sort of life situation that they have to sort of deal with? And now the way that we designed the process would integrate and respect and possibly support those life situations. So it became much more personal, I would say.
This is great. Actually, sound like part of the work has become much more like to be a facilitator in the things happening right now. And for you, Adam?
Go ahead. I wanted to add just not in the bubble of the organization, but really like kind of the person-to-person type of relationships. So that's interesting, and it's still a field to explore. And but yeah, I'm curious about Adam as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not much has changed for us. We started the process of becoming fully remote really about 3.5 years ago, but even deeper in it about a year ago with a client where for the first time we did a project 100% remote. They were a remote company, and we wanted to try it out. We started to integrate tools like Figma and Miro, Miro for whiteboarding and Figma for product design. And honestly, it was like, it was a new world for us, and it was a little scary at first, but after doing it, it was like a perfect symphony, watching the entire team be super collaborative, maybe even more collaborative, more efficient than they had ever been before. Researchers commenting on design, developers talking with designers about issues, product managers talking with researchers inside of Figma. It was just an unbelievable process to kind of watch. And even when you turn on that button in Figma to see all the mouses moving across the screen and seeing all the different things that are happening, it's actually just kind of amazing when you take a step back from it. You know, in regards to our work, you know, we probably have got more work this year than we ever have, because companies are starting to realize, oh, well, we can work with Academy from anywhere. It doesn't matter if they physically need to come to our office. So, you know, we're starting to work with a lot of clients on the West Coast. We're working with clients on the East Coast. We're working with clients in the Midwest. It's just, opened up doors and opportunities where we didn't have them before. And so it's been a really positive change. And I hope that more companies start to see the value and the benefit of this.
And also, I think it's great, actually, you have an opportunity to explore the new way of work, like a few years ago, because now actually you can really help clients who for the first time are facing this new model of working to understand how to do that. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Actually, and Antonio before mentioned something was very interesting when we're talking about understand the people. And I want to talk in a moment about empathy, because also, we talked before about collaboration and co-creation, a very important factor of the design process, but also empathy, understanding of the people is so much important. And I feel like right now, with the COVID, with everything is changing around us, there are a lot of emotional feeling can play a very key role in understanding the people in terms of behaviors and what kind of action they take. But at the same time, research and understand people are kind of contact, and the social distance and work from home doesn't help so much to unfold these kind of opportunities. Do you think this new barrier make your work more difficult? Or actually, based on what I'm starting to understand from your previous answer, is actually create an opportunity for you to help a large organization or small organization to deal with that and understand the people.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, definitely. I mean, I acknowledge the very serious consequences of this recent pandemic, but in a field like design consultancy and strategic design, obviously, now more than ever, organization needs strategy and strategies to deal with this situation. So yeah, definitely we saw at Studio We an increase of opportunities and just kind of conversation to start supporting clients and partners. I would say that you mentioned how to research and how to build empathy with clients and with their user in order to help them designing. And I think if you have a very rigorous approach to user research and to design research, this didn't really change in terms of methods. I think what changes is the understanding and framing of those research in a sort of like a different timeline or time dimension, meaning that things that you discover now, they are not fixed anymore, and they're gonna change like very, very soon. So I think you need to build your research process and your empathy building process, acknowledging and keeping in mind that things are changing now on a monthly basis until at least a new scenario like a true scenario post-pandemic will be understood by science and by
it's not anymore like we do research now and is still valid for the next 12 months.
I think this was already valid when for any sort of technology product or service, because obviously technology is very fast. I mean, the last 20 years technology was much faster than the previous 50 years, but now it's even though the external conditions are changing and the social and political and also kind of operational conditions are changing so fast that You need to build this into your research, into your design process. So in that respect, I think what we are doing is changing, and that's what we're trying to convey to our clients.
Great. Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, there's two sides of it where empathy kind of comes into play in this new COVID world. One, of course, is with the users, right? And the people that we're designing for every single day. I think one of the silver linings, you know, if there is one in COVID, is that you know, I think the companies are becoming more attuned to listening to their customers and listening to users, which is empathy by definition, right? And I think that because of their openness to kind of start that conversation and start to view user research and empathy as a positive value, net positive value for their company, I think they're starting to change their attitudes towards, you know, conducting research upfront, which has always been an uphill battle, at least for the work that I do. From a team perspective, you know, it's also important just to have that empathy for your fellow teammates who, as you said, may be going through very challenging times, whether that is, you know, having to take care of their kids at home all day while also working, or maybe having a sick family member, or a multitude of other issues that could arise. Just trying to really understand someone and be empathetic towards them, and try to make sure that the way that you operate your organization allows for the space for them to share their ideas, share their feelings, and also give them a break when they need one.
I mean, you think at this point, the unfortunate pandemic we have experienced so far in some way have moved every organization, and especially your client, to experiencing what does it mean barrier, or have a different kind of context, and finally realize how much it is important to understand and have empathy for these people. Sound really like this empathy is still actually helping you much more to explain the value of the work you can do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you know, it absolutely, as always, research and empathy allow us to prove with real numbers or real quotes that the work we do is valuable. And there's just no better feeling than sharing that information with a client and seeing their eyes light up and realizing, you know, the value of the work that we're conducting for them.
Great.
I think it's an interesting fact here is also that, like, now, whatever project you get, whatever brief you get, whatever actual problem your clients ask you to respond to, it's always in the context of COVID, essentially. And so I think almost every design agency should sort of have a little bit of a deeper reflection of what the consequences of COVID are, in order to even, you know, help clients solving problems that are not strictly related to COVID.
Great. Well, actually, I have a last question for you, and this one is probably more like a personal, meaning I'm curious about your really personal feeling about this one, because you both have experiences working from home, or I mean, actually working from remote, with a lot of remote team, much more many other organizations in this world, because the design practice always did since a bunch of years so far. But now, I mean, sooner or later, we are going to back to work in an office or in a shared office. And of course, we don't know so much right now if it was going to be, again, a full-time in spend in the office, or a kind of a new hybrid relationship between a little bit working from home, a little bit working from office, we don't know. But what do you think is going to be new in the way we work? And what do you think maybe is going to stay from what we actually learned and discovered during this COVID time?
Yeah. I mean, I think the key word that I'm reflecting on a daily basis now is this idea of intentional communities. So, you know, if you have a workplace, the workplace is a community. It's a group of people that meet every day, and maybe they don't work together directly, but they see each other at the office. They do small talks. Occasionally, they maybe have a meeting. So it's a community, and now that this situation doesn't gonna happen anymore, because even the companies that are going back to work, they're going back to work in turns, or they're going back to work in different locations. Some is going back, some is not. And so, I mean, that this kind of sense of community of people that every single day see each other doesn't take place anymore, right? And so the ideal intentional community is, people that gather around maybe specific subjects or specific occasions, and now any organization needs to create. So if there is, I work in the financial sector, if there is like an entire floor that is dedicated to digital products for the financial sector, then there needs to be some sort of program for people to come together and maybe discuss specific subjects, or maybe share their current projects. So those things need to be much more intentional than just letting people go in an office and share information and communicate just naturally. So yeah, I think that's what's changing a lot. Yeah.
And you, Adam, do you think the way, I mean, you already told me how you work right now is not so much different from how you start already working a few years ago. But do you think this is going to change how your client maybe was working before? Do you think we are going to go back to working the same way we worked before, or they probably stay much more in this kind of virtual, remote meetings, collaborative board, and not actually the new methodology you are actually sharing with them?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'd imagine actually they're just going to be even more remote work. So we're going to go even deeper into this, and we may even start to push clients in that direction, so that we don't need to be in person, and that we can be sometimes more efficient this way. But that being said, there are great moments to be in person and be collaborative and work side by side. And there are definitely things I miss about that. And especially, as Antonio said, in regards to the communal factor, the community that you build in the office, and that environment can make people really want to stay places. So I think the things that I kind of worry about long term are more about attrition, losing great people because they want to go to a place where maybe things are going to be a little bit more in person. But of course, in a COVID world, this is not going to happen, in my opinion, anytime too soon. I think that right now the country is in a rush to open, and many businesses will, but I think that there's going to be also a lot of people who are unwilling to go and actually go into an office every single day, even if it means having to lose their job. So it's going to be a really interesting time in the coming months. There's going to be people who love working remotely and love working in companies like that. There's going to be people that really value that community aspect and want to go work in-house in the company, and may need to go take that risk to go have that again. So it's just, the whole workforce is changing drastically, and it will be a very interesting time to see in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years as this plays out.
I totally agree with you. And actually, I really think aside the specific project and the product you both actually you can work on and helping your client, you are going to be a really valuable resource to actually help to understand how to deal with this kind of new environments. Well, we are almost on the end, and before close of this episode, I want to remind everyone is watching or listening to subscribe to Alia Stories, and you can do in YouTube or in Instagram. And also, if you want to know more about Adam and Antonio, you can find all the links and information in the description here below. Thank you, Adam, Antonio. Thank you so much for your time here today. It was a pleasure talking with you.
It was great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirko.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.